Morning. It's such a treat to be at this center, which has a very, very special place in my heart, and to share with you some of my journey through the experience of money and prosperity. I've spent my entire professional life, which has been a while now, you can tell from the gray hairs, working in the field of area, money, and wealth planning. And through that, I've had some experience that I'd like to share with you today. And it's been really, for me, you could call it a passion, you could call it a life purpose, you could call it a calling. For me, it's really all of those things. And as I've integrated my business life and my spiritual life, I've had some very interesting experiences, and those are the ones I'm going to share with you today. We think of money and wealth as this analytical, data-driven experience. We can add it, subtract it, multiply it, divide it, account for it. We can put all of our left brain onto it. And that's how it's really generally thought about. It's just this, analytical, data-driven thing that we can handle, right? But we know from our life it doesn't work that way. Because really, truly, money only exists in the human experience, right? Money was created by humans, a method of human exchange. So it naturally comes with all the experiences and beliefs and hang-ups that we as human beings have. So when we experience money and wealth in our daily life, we experience them, of course, through our own lens and through our own experiences. And that may be experiences that move you toward wealth, or there may be experiences that are making your wealth a challenge for you. But it's all based on our individual, and of course we collectively create our prosperity through our collective experience. So the truth is, if you have whatever results you're getting in your life around money and prosperity, you really only have two choices. And we know those from Unity. I don't have to tell you, but I'll go over them anyway, just for the sake. The one choice is to continue the same beliefs and thinking that you have, in which case you'll continue to get the same results that you're getting now. And the second choice is to change your thinking and beliefs, in which case you have an opportunity for new results. They might not be the first time through the results that you're looking for, but they're going to be different. And that's how we get there, is by changing our thinking and believing. So just for an example, a fun thing, just cross your arms for a minute for me. All right, so look down and notice which arm's on top. Now cross them the other way. Put the other arm on top. Does it feel a little uncomfortable? Like you're thinking, why is this? This is like crossing your arms. So if you're going to change your behavior and your thinking around money and wealth, it's probably going to be a little more uncomfortable than that exercise. So I think that's why so many people never do it, because it is uncomfortable. But that's what we know in Unity is all there is to do is just notice and make a new choice. So we're going to feel uncomfortable, and that's going to be okay, because we're going to get our new results. So for me, as one of the reasons that money has been my life calling is because I have been around it my entire life. And I've looked at my life for many ways around money, because if you're going to teach it, you have to look inward first, right? And the truth is that I was always, and still pretty much am, a compulsive saver. I'd say I'm not so compulsive about it anymore, but I was always a saver. We're talking like hardcore, saver, like pick up pennies on the street, take pop bottles back for the refund kind of saver. And this didn't seem odd to me. It just seemed like the way I was, and that was okay. But some interesting things started happening to me in my 40s, and one of them was that I was single and dating. And I had some furniture in my house. I moved into a new house in Fort Mitchell, but I was sort of embarrassed by my furniture. It didn't really fit the house. It was kind of old and ratty. And since I was a saver, I'd been saving money for new furniture, and I had the money in the bank for the furniture. But I didn't buy the furniture. I just had the money in the bank. Yeah. So as I was dating, if I only dated somebody once or twice, it was no big deal. But then I found a guy I really liked. He's my current husband. But then as we were dating, and I would say to people as they came over, you know, I have money for new furniture. I'm gonna get new furniture one of these days. Because I was embarrassed. That's how bad my furniture was. I was embarrassed by it. So after a couple of months, my now husband, then my boyfriend, said, well, Mackey, if you have the money for new furniture, why don't you just go buy it? Like, I don't know. I mean, I have a few reasons, like, I'm too busy. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to buy. I don't know how to get a good deal. I don't know what I want. You know, I can think of a lot of reasons. And then Barry said, I tell you what, I've got some connections in the furniture industry. I'll get us a place. We'll go to North Carolina for the weekend, and we'll just buy everything you want right then. So then I had to notice I had some feelings about that. And they were uncomfortable feelings. So I went back and I thought, okay, retirement's taken care of, business is good, got my emergency fund, all this is taken care of. Why? Got this money saved up here for furniture. What's the feeling about? I don't know. So I started looking. Where did this come from? I went back to my teenage years and I remembered my first job. I was 14, I got a job, I made $31.25 a week. And I went down to the savings loan and put my paycheck in the bank. Every week. I went back further, and I thought about my grandfather coming to visit, giving me a quarter. I would take that quarter down to the savings loan and deposit it in my passbook account. I couldn't remember a time that I wasn't saving money. This is interesting. Where'd this come from? And then I remembered this story. It was the night before kindergarten. And my mother sat me down to tell me about kindergarten. I was 5 years old. Tomorrow, Mackey, you're going to go to kindergarten. You're going to get a teacher, and her name's going to be Miss Mary. You're going to learn lots of new things. You're going to meet some great friends. You're going to have a wonderful time. But there's something really important I need to tell you before you go to kindergarten tomorrow. And that is that you are a child by adoption, not our child by birth. And I want you to understand this in case some other child comes up to you and says something to you tomorrow and then maybe tease you about it. Because I'm your mom now, and that's really all you need to know. So she went on to explain the difference between it being a child by birth and a child by adoption, and then she said, like, do you have any questions? Well, I had this one burning one, probably the same question that most anyone would have had when they had this discussion with their mother, and it was the big, why? Well, why would my birth parents, have given me away? It's the way every adopted child I've ever met says it. Why would they make that choice? The truth was my mother had absolutely no idea. My adoption was handled through the state of Georgia, and all the records were private. She had a pretty good inclination that probably my parents had had sex before they got married, which is a big no-no in 1955. But she wasn't going to tell me at 5 years old about the birds and the bees. So she said to me, well, your parents were young and they didn't have enough money for a baby. Wow. So this money stuff's pretty important. Money is so important, it gets to decide whether you get your family or not. And from a perspective of a 5-year-old, this is really big news. So having money became really important to me. Money equals security. That was definitely what I made up. That's what I came to believe. Money equals security. If you could decide whether you had a family or not, it was a big deal. I became this most compliant kid you can imagine. I never asked for anything, and I always saved money. Now, this belief that I came to, money is security, isn't what my mother had in mind. What did she have in mind? She wanted me to know that I was loved and accepted, and that she was my mother. And she didn't want me to be upset if some kid came up to me, which kids can do, in kindergarten and said, I know you're adopted. So it isn't what happens that gives us our beliefs and our thinking. It's what we make up that it means to us. So I had to recognize that for me, money was security, and that was the core of what I believed. So no wonder I enjoyed having the money for new furniture more than I enjoyed the furniture. And thankfully I had somebody pushing me to make a new decision. So we took the weekend and we drove to North Carolina and we bought the furniture. And I just had to notice how I felt about it and how I experienced it. And that money wasn't security, that security was something elsewhere. And certainly money is a big part of how we get our needs met as human beings. So we have to respect it. But I had respected it. And I could notice that my feelings were just what they were, and just not get caught up in them, not react to them, just be with them. The good news for me is I get to practice that every once in a while by indulging in something new. And even today, it's been many years ago, often a little feeling of fear comes up for me when I'm going to make a purchase, particularly if it's just for myself. So we all have that opportunity. We all have that opportunity to make a new choice, to make a choice that serves us in the future as opposed to the past. I could have made the choice to keep the money in the bank and not buy the furniture and to avoid looking at what was true for me. But I kept looking, and actually my book, The Intersection of Joy and Money, was really born out of that journey of trying to find what was true for me around money. What were the beliefs and the behaviors and the experiences that had molded the way I looked at money and wealth. To tell you a little bit more about what money was like in my life, when I was young, one of my favorite experiences was with my piggy bank. How many of you had a piggy bank when you were young? Okay. Well, I had a great piggy bank. It was a piggy bank that stood up straight and had a hole in the top, little hole, but you put the money in the top of her head, and on her belly it said, "For my mink." I really at one point thought I could get enough money in the bank for my mink. Until my brother, who's older, came up to me and said, you can't get enough in there for the mink. And I was devastated. So therefore I had to have the passbook account. But my piggy bank was a really old-fashioned piggy bank. It had one way in and one way out. There was no stopper at the bottom. Just the hole in the top. Anybody have a piggy bank like that? Okay. Did anybody develop the kitchen knife theory with it? So if you have a piggy bank like that and you want to ever see the money that you put into the bank, you have to find a way to get it back out. And when I was having a really bad day, my favorite method of self-soothing when I was young was to go to the kitchen and get a kitchen knife, right? Go up to my room, lock the door, get my piggy bank, lay down on the bed, turn my bank upside down, and then, if you're really good at it, you just put the knife in the top of in the hole, and you just arrange the quarters and the nickels and dimes so that they come right back out. Now, if you do this often, like I did, you get pretty good at it, and it sort of like rains money down. For someone who thinks money is security, this is a good experience. So when I was having a bad day, this is what I would do to make myself feel better. I'd count the money in my bank. Now, after I got it all out, I'd be laying on my bed, there'd be money all around me. I'd make it in dollar piles. 4 quarters, 10 dimes, 20 nickels. Then I'd count it. Oh, this feels good. And then if it was a really, really bad day, I'd mess it up and count it again. And that's the way I took care of it. And then I'd put it back in the bank, put the bank back on the shelf. That's the way I took care of myself when I was a kid, by making myself feel better. So I realized that the ways that I felt about money and the experiences that I had and the things I had to let go of were just my old experiences. They weren't truth. I could make a new truth, and I could make a new choice. I could change my thinking and believing. I could notice that money is part of the human experience, and it's the way we get our needs met, but it is not my security. So I hope that you will take a copy of my book as you leave today, The Intersection of Joy and Money. It's my gift to you. If you already have one, please take one and share it with your best friend. And if you really don't feel good about giving gifts, I'd say, look at your beliefs and thinking. And you can buy one on Amazon, if you really want to. But as I worked with this whole area of money and prosperity, I had life continued on. I had more experiences, and one of them was a few years ago, my husband, who was a VP of sales, decided that he wanted to change his life and become an organic farmer. So we went from living on an acre in Wyoming in the woods, Wyoming, Ohio, to living on 35 acres in Independence, Kentucky. And I've always been a child of nature. I've always wanted to be outdoors more than I wanted to be indoors. So living on 35 acres, I didn't think would be that much a different experience for me. Because I like to fly fish, I like to hike, just like to be in nature. But the truth is that being in nature on a more regular basis with every season and really enjoying and experiencing her has added a whole nother level to my prosperity thinking. And that's the second message I want to share with you today. Because as I have observed nature, what I've found is that nature and abundance are like peas and carrots. I mean, you never find nature that you don't find abundance. And wherever there is abundance, the laws of nature are being respected. So how many of you ever had a weed in your yard that you let go to seed? Anybody? I made that. We've had a thistle problem more than once. So if a weed goes to seed, the next spring what happens? They're everywhere. And if you are going to use an herbicide or a weed eater, and you're going to pull those weeds, who's going to win? You or Mother Nature? Mother Nature. She's abundant. She is abundant. How many of you ever planted a tomato? Okay. Do you know that there's between 25 and 325 seeds in a tomato? So for the case of just examining Mother Nature and her abundance, let's say your tomato, you have a tomato and it has 150 seeds in it. And you decide you're going to take those seeds and save them, and next year you're going to plant tomatoes, right? So you're going to take your 150 seeds, you're going to plant 150 tomato plants. Each tomato plant is going to have somewhere between 60 and 120 tomatoes. Let's just say you're not a very good gardener it's your first year, you don't have good compost, and so you only get 60 tomatoes out of your 150 tomato plants. That's 9,000 seeds that you'll get in the next year. If you take those 9,000 seeds and you plant them, do you know how many tomatoes you'll have? Over 500,000. Listen, two growing seasons. That's all. I mean, Mother Nature makes compound interest look like some old thing in a rocking chair that's not moving very well, right? So we have a lot to learn from Mother Nature. As I really look back at that, I thought, Mother Nature is a creator. That's how she's different. See, Mother Nature creates. I read you the quote from Wallace Wattles today, The Science of Getting Rich. You are to become a creator. Rise out of competitive thought. When you become a creator, you create what you want, and everyone else has more than he or she has now. That's a really, really powerful thought. Really rich. I thought, I like that idea. I'm going to see if I can find a way to be a creator in my own life. How can I use my talent of creation? Now, creation, I'm not saying about creating as a way of having a talent as a painter or a musician, even though that's a wonderful talent. I'm talking about creating something totally new. For creation is bringing forth something that doesn't exist into the world. Totally new. That's the way I see Mother Nature. She brings something totally new. So I thought, well, how do I do that? As I said, money, wealth, it's all been my passion. And so I looked at what I was doing in terms of wealth planning, and I said, you know what? I've been doing it the way everybody else does it. I've been in business for a long time, a few gray hairs, and I've read almost all the great business books, and they all teach you, number one thing, business is competitive, right? You're supposed to compete for customers. I mean, turn on the radio any day and you'll hear, we're the best economy in the world because of competition, right? Free marketplaces, competition. And I thought, well, what if I just let go of competition? What if I wasn't in competition with anybody? And I create something totally new that I think would be transformative. So I'm going to quit doing financial planning the way it's been done, and it's done by everybody else. I'm going to create my way. I'm going to put 4 intentions on it. Because I believe when you create, you have to start with intention, which I noticed that this congregation is doing for your new minister. My first intention was that it would be fun. Fun. Somebody told me one time that coming to see me was worse than going to see the dentist. So when I said I wanted to make it fun, that is like a big leap. You know, fun, fun, fun. Now hopefully everybody didn't see that, but even that somebody could say that. My second thing I was intending was that this process that I created, this wealth planning process, would be engaging. Because what tends to happen in most places where wealth planning is done is you go in and you talk to the person, and you give them some information, and then they go in the back room and they huddle up with a bunch more other people. And these people in the back room sort of create your life plan. You're not really engaged at it. And then they come out and they say, here's your plan. Like, I don't think that's a very good plan. I think if it's your financial plan is really your life plan. Because money is the way we get our needs met as human beings. So I think it should be engaging. You should be a part of the process. So I'm going to put engaging in my intention. The third piece was, I decided it should be collaborative. Traditionally, planning is done by, I'm the authority and you're not the authority, right? I'm going to tell you what to do. And I thought, what if we collaborate? What if you become one with the planner and the planner just becomes part of the team? And you are an active participant, you're an equal collaborator. And the fourth thing, because of all the work I've done around beliefs and thinking over the years, is I wanted this process to effortlessly and easily support the creation of new beliefs and thinking. So with those 4 intentions, I started working on my process. Put it together, had no idea how it would come out. Nobody knew I was experimenting on it, but a client came in and wanted a plan done. So we just told her this is the way we did it. The next morning, I got an email back from her. And it said, that was so fun! I thought, wow, this creative stuff must be something else. So out of that one person, we actually continued to deliver the prosperity experience. We didn't market it, we didn't do anything other than word or mouth. And in that course of that time, since we created it, our business has doubled. So we've gotten what we wanted, which is to grow our business. And all the people that we've worked with have gotten more too. We follow the principles of Wallace Wattles. And I want to read it. It's such a powerful quote. I want to read it one more time. You are to become a creator, not a competitor. You are going to get what you want, but in such a way that when you get it, every other person will have more than he or she does now. Riches secured in the competitive plane are never satisfactory and permanent. They are yours today and another's tomorrow. Remember, if you are to become rich in a scientific and certain way, you must rise entirely out of competitive thought. So I'm going to close today with a couple of challenges for you. The first one is to really look at what are your beliefs, what is your thinking around money and wealth. Is it serving you? Do you need to take a deep breath, ground yourself, and make a new choice? Are you ready for a new risk? Are you willing to cross your arms another way, to feel a little more uncomfortable, to get some new results? And the second thing is to become a creator. Become a creator. We all have the gift of creation. It's ours to use. And this time of year is especially wonderful that we get to explore that, because Mother Nature is just about to burst forth with new lots of stuff. New flowers, new grasses, new leaves on the trees. So I want to encourage you to spend some time in nature and really look at how does Mother Nature create? And tap into that inner creator that you are and see what comes forth as yours to create in the world, such that you get what you want, but everyone else gets more than he or she has now. As I mentioned, my book, The Intersection of Joy and Money, is at the back. It's your gift, my gift from you today. I hope you'll enjoy that. And if you've enjoyed our time together, I would encourage you to tell Mark Glorious I've offered to come back in the fall and teach a class on these principles. And that's entirely up to you. I'll come if you like, but I don't want to bore you with them. It's been my pleasure to be here with you today, and thank you so much.